Well, welcome to the aftermath after Fall Brawl 2017. This Camry ran the Pro class in the Pro Mini. No, the front end did not fall off. When I got home, the doors were locked and I couldn't get at my camera until the wife came home from work. So, what I did was I cut the front of the frame off. And a lot of you guys are going to ask me, why did I cut the frame off? And the answer is, I couldn't do anything. With how bad this frame was bent, the bumper was actually touching the exhaust manifold, as you can see here clearly by where this car was on fire. The only reason it was on fire is because of the radiator. As it sits right now, the front subframe is only held in by the rear subframe bolts and the strut towers and the steering knuckle. So it's going to be pretty easy to take the front subframe out of this, and we are saving this motor along with the rear subframe out of this car. That is about all we're saving. Even though the subframe is junk, we're only saving it because of the motor. Some things that I've noticed is that my Pro bumper is now bent. Not overly excited about that, that's for sure. But that's what you get. Take stuff into a demolition derby, it's going to get bent. I'll just have to build it bigger, stronger, better for next year. So watch out. Things that went wrong with this motor. I think it was just overfueling. I'm not 100% sure. I know that this little sensor right here, this right here controls a lot of your fuel pressure and all that. It was actually broken off because this motor actually hit the firewall back there. Now that the frame's not on it, it's actually moved ahead about 4 inches. But so we're going to pull this motor out of here. I'm going to take a lot of stuff off it. As you can see, I've already got the alternator all disconnected. I'm going to start removing some grounds. But this car still runs and drives, which is kind of funny. I'm not sure how far I'm going to get on this right now, but I know I'm going to get the rear subframe out tonight, and I know I'm going to get the rest of the cage out. But tomorrow I got to do some work to the wife's car, get the lowering kit out of it, so not too sure how far I will get. It'd be nice to get everything done, but realistically, I don't think I'm going to get that far. But just going to start tearing down the front of this a little bit more. I'm going to take the shifter off. I'm going to take the fuel lines off, disconnect the electrical, and see how far we actually get. I'd like to kind of make this thing still drivable, so I don't want to go too far as of right now. So now with the front end torn apart, we're going to come back here and we're going to save a lot of this back end. Now, even though there's quite a bit of rust damage and actual impact demolition derby damage, there's still some very good parts on the subframe. Believe it or not, I'd like to save this one and put it into the pink car that you guys seen running Rockton and Aaron, because it is in much better shape other than that spindle breaking. But that's an easy fix. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to drop the rear subframe out of this. I'd like to bring all the suspension with me, to be honest. That'd be really nice if I could do that. So we'll try pulling all the trailing arms up there, and then we'll undo the subframe mounts, and then we'll go up top and try to pull the top strut bolts out. And then hopefully this subframe will just fall right onto the ground. The only reason I'm saving this is because it is actually in pretty good shape. Like, I know that this spindle is broken, but other than that, it's in pretty good shape compared to some of the other subframes I get in cars. So let's try to get this thing pulled out. But this was a clean car underneath here. It's a shame that this thing got destroyed the way it did. But let's get out the parts that we can and save what we can. So we got the rear subframe out. I'm not gonna lie, it's not the best of shape, but realistically there's only one ear that's broken off, so it's not as bad as it could be. The actual body is in pretty good shape, so kind of happy we saved it. So now we got the rear subframe out. The next thing to come out is basically the rest of the cage and then the front subframe. So as you guys see, there's the whole front of the car has been cut off from earlier, so it's going to make that a lot easier to remove the front subframe. So let's get the car set down, the rest of the cage out, because I still have to get underneath it and do the rest of the cage and the battery box and that fun stuff. And then we'll start on the front subframe. So here we are. The motor did come out of this. Not as awesome as I thought it would. But it's out. It looks like it's almost off my little engine lift assist thing down there. So these motors do come out quite easily. It's just that this one here kind of twisted as it came in. There, she's down all the way now. So to pull the subframes, you pull the struts, obviously, on both sides. So there you go. You pull the electrical out, which is just these 5 plugs or 4 plugs or whatever it is that goes through the hole back there. You take off your brake booster. You bring down your little NOx sensor thing or fuel pressure sensor thing. Disconnect the throttle cable. Steering is a 12mm knuckle that you undo to remove. And that's basically it. Whole motor comes right out the bottom of the vehicle. Now let's just bring this car up on the hoist and we'll push the motor out of the way and then we can take the rest of the stuff out of this car and it's pretty much done. Camera looks like it's fogging up because I'm really sweaty doing this now. Well, there's nothing really left of this Toyota Camry. It was quite a shame. This was my cleanest Toyota Camry I've ever owned. This one here actually came from a Toyota dealership. But that's the joys of running a demolition derby. We've got just about everything that we want stripped out of this thing. Car. I've pretty much saved everything from the welded off brake pieces to all the suspension. I'm probably going to take this piece off here, just my steering, just in case that breaks on another one. I have the whole subframe, even though it's bent, I'm going to still save a couple pieces from it. All the washers, basically any hardware I can use, I'm going to save just about everything I can from this vehicle. But as it sits right now, it's pretty much just scrap. Just a piece of scrap metal. And every time we get pieces of scrap metal, they go to the crusher, so this thing's going to go to the crusher. But the heart of this beast will live on in another vehicle, so make sure you guys stay tuned to see what happens. But this is the complete teardown, cut apart, save pieces of my 2017 Fall Brawl Toyota Camry Probe Mini.